Okay. Interpreters. Can you hear us? You good? Okay. Good afternoon. Dear colleagues, committee members, state parties, as well as other observers. At the outset, allow me to warmly welcome you all on behalf of the Ethiopian government and on my behalf as chairperson of the Intergovernmental Committee to Addis Ababa. I will keep my welcome note very short since you are all invited to an official opening ceremony immediately after this orientation session. Notwithstanding, I cannot start today's meeting without expressing the great honor and immense pleasure it is for me and for my country to be hosting the 11th session, the Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage. Thank you for accepting our invitation. I hope your trips were uneventful and that you are well settled in your respective accommodations. As the chairperson, I am also very pleased to see you here today for the orientation session, as I hope we will be able to clarify the working methods and practical organization, allowing us to concentrate our debates during the actual session of the committee on the substance of the items inscribed on the agenda. The objective of this session is to present to you the timetable and working methods during the 11th session and practical information on its organization. The Bureau of the Committee met on the 20th of October and approved the tentative timetable for the 11th session of the committee. We also approved 4 international assistance requests. This meeting was followed by an information and exchange session held in the same day. Today's meeting is dedicated to members and observers who could not attend this information session, which had been held in Paris. A general information document has been prepared to give you some practical information concerning the 11th session, Addis Ababa, and also about Ethiopia in general. That can be helped during your stay in our country. You may find this document on the dedicated website, whose link is displayed on the screen. The provisional agenda of the 11th session of the committee contains 20 items to be discussed during this 11th session, some of which contain sub-items. The committee will meet from Monday to Friday from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. and from 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon till 5:30 p.m. with a 2-hour lunch break. As you can see, we have a very tight schedule. Due to this tight schedule and in order to allow sufficient time for the committee to discuss each agenda item, the Bureau debated how to deal in particular with the many nominations, requests and approvals that will be presented for examination. With 49 files to be examined over the course of 12 hours, only approximately 14 minutes per file could be allocated, which is obviously insufficient. We concluded that we will adopt the procedure adopted last year, that is, as a general principle, the individual decisions concerning nominations to the lists and proposals to the register of best safeguarding practices should be adopted without debate, unless a committee member wishes to raise specific issues. To help us to better organize our time, it would be helpful if committee members communicate their requests for debate in advance to the Secretariat to the email address shown on the screens: ich/amendments@unesco.org. Before the Bureau meeting on Tuesday morning, 29th November, so that the Bureau can establish the list of files for debate. The Secretariat will inform the committee members accordingly. Of course, any member of the committee may take the floor during the examination of a decision concerning any file if it wishes to do so. Examinations on all nominations, requests and proposals will start on a brief presentation by the chairperson of the evaluation body, with the display of the photographic material on the screens and with the reasons for its draft decisions. I will then proceed to the adoption of the decision as a whole, and with no request for debate was received, and if committee members confirm this. Finally, as a practice, the submitting state will have 2 minutes for comments after the adoption of the decision. This being said, Mr. Curtis will present to you in more details the committee's working methods and the timetable of the 11th session. Mr. Curtis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Allow me also to greet all of you who have come, and thank you, particularly new committee members. I will start a presentation going over some of the kind of session explaining the committee. The first half of my presentation will be dealing primarily with general issues related to the committee, and the second part of the presentation will be more focused on our specific session over the next week, the 11th session of the committee. Just as a reminder, the committee consists of 24 state parties who are elected by the General Assembly according to principles of equitable geographic representation and rotation. Each committee member has a term of 4 years, and every 2 years, half the committee is renewed. The committee has several functions. Firstly, of course, to promote the objectives of the convention and provide guidance on best practices, as well as recommendations on measures for safeguarding intangible cultural heritage. The committee is also entrusted to prepare draft operational directives for the implementation of the convention, which could be then approved by the General Assembly. The committee examines the reports on the implementation of the convention, as well as on the status of the elements inscribed on its lists. The committee also has the role of granting international assistance requests greater than 100,000, of preparing a draft plan for the use of the resources of the fund, which should be approved by the General Assembly. It recommends to the General Assembly the accreditation of non-governmental organization, and it inscribes on the urgent safeguarding list, as well as the representative list. It inscribes elements on those lists and can select best safeguarding practices for the register of best safeguarding practices. The committee is governed by the rules of procedure of the Intergovernmental Committee for the Safeguarding of the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund. You will find, those of you we have available, basic text of the convention, the latest version, the 2016 version, and these rules of procedure for the committee can be found between pages 89 and 104. The committee meets annually in ordinary sessions. There have been a couple of extraordinary sessions over the last 10 years, but otherwise it's an annual ordinary session, and a committee member consists of one delegate per member who may be assisted by alternatives, advisors, and experts. The committee meeting is open to observers from state parties to the convention, as well as states non-party to the convention, intergovernmental organizations, accredited NGOs, as well as public or private bodies and private persons whose observer status has been approved by the committee. Finally, it is open to registered public within the limits of available space. The agenda includes all items which are provided for in the rules of procedure and the operational directives, items that may have been inscribed by the committee or the General Assembly at previous sessions, items that may have been proposed by members of the committee or by state parties to the convention, as well as the Director General of UNESCO. Only speakers recognized in terms of the debate, for the order of the debate, only speakers recognized by the chairperson may take the floor, and amongst those, priority is given to committee members, followed then by observers, be they state parties or states non-parties, intergovernmental organizations, NGOs, and so on. However, during the adoption of decisions, only committee members may intervene. So only committee members may take the floor during the adoption of decisions, except according to Rule 22.4 concerning decisions related to nominations, proposals and requests for inscriptions on either list or the register of best safeguarding practice, or for international assistance. And in such cases, the submitting states, whether or not they are a member of the committee, may take the floor if it is in response to a question raised by members of the committee. And they may only speak in relation to the question raised by the member of the committee. Decision-making, as is common for UNESCO, consensus is a privileged form of decision-making. However, in case of votes, each state member has one vote, or each committee member has one vote, and decisions, almost all, are made by a simple majority, which means 13 out of the 24 committee members, except for a couple of cases where a two-thirds majority is required. They include any amendments to the rules of procedure, which require a two-thirds majority, or the convening of an extraordinary session of the committee also requires a two-third majority. The Secretariat has certain roles in relation to the committee. Firstly, it does not have the right to vote. The Secretariat is asked to prepare the draft, to propose the draft agenda, to prepare the documentation of the committee. It is also, its role is to ensure the implementation of the decisions of the committee and the proper conduct of the work of the committee. The Bureau consists, of course, of the chairperson and one or more vice chairpersons. The practice has always been to have 5 vice chairpersons, not chairpersons, sorry, 5 vice chairpersons, meaning one from each of the remaining electoral groups after the chairperson. That is not a rule, but that has been the practice and continues to be so, as well as a rapporteur. The Bureau is expected to fix the date, times, and order of business of committee meetings, and as such will be meeting every morning before the session of the committee. The Bureau is also entrusted to grant international assistance requests up to $100,000, beyond which they must go to the committee, as well as emergency assistance requests. And finally, the Bureau may be asked by the committee to perform other tasks. The committee may also establish either ad hoc consultative or subsidiary bodies as it deems necessary in order to accomplish its work. Of course, one such body which you are very aware of is the evaluation body. And I remind you that the evaluation body consists of 12 members, each of whom are elected by the committee. 6 of those 12 members represent NGOs accredited to the convention, and 6 are experts who represent state parties who are non-members of the committee. I would also add that the 6 accredited NGOs and 6 expert representatives are geographically balanced between each of the 6 regions, so that there is 1 NGO per region and 1 expert per region. Their job is to evaluate the files proposed for the urgent safeguarding list, the representative list, the register of best safeguarding practices, and international assistance greater than 100,000, for which they then make recommendations to the committee presented as draft decisions. So those are the general provisions. And now perhaps I'll just go over some of the issues pertaining to this 11th session here in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The composition of the committee now consists, I will read through them. Group 1, Austria, Cyprus, and Turkey. Austria and Cyprus being new members to the committee. Group 2 consists of Armenia, Bulgaria, and Hungary, with Armenia being a new member to the committee. Group 3 is Colombia, Cuba, Guatemala, and St. Lucia, with Colombia, Cuba, and Guatemala all being new members to the committee. Group 4 is Afghanistan, India, Mongolia, Philippines, and the Republic of Korea, with the Philippines being the new member to the committee of that group. Group 5A is Congo, Cote d'Ivoire, Ethiopia, Mauritius, Senegal, and Zambia, with Mauritius, Senegal, and Zambia being the new members of the committee. And Group 5B is Algeria, Lebanon, and Palestine, with Lebanon and Palestine being the new members of the committee. Our chairperson, Mr. Jonas Desta Tsegai from Ethiopia. The rapporteur is Mr. Murat, and I apologize for the possible mispronunciation, Sogangoz from Turkey. And the vice chairpersons for the Bureau this year are Turkey, Bulgaria, St. Lucia, Republic of Korea, and Algeria. The session this year, as in the past, we are not providing papers, although they may be provided to committee members upon request. But the working documents will require a decision by the committee, whereas information documents do not require decisions, and they are numbered according to the item on the agenda, so you can see ITH for Intangible Heritage, 16 for 2016, 11.com because it's the 11th session of the committee, and then you have the number 3, observers, so number 3 means item number 3. So, as I said, all of the documents of the committee are available on the web page. The working documents, information documents, you can also find the reports on the implementation of the convention, the status of elements inscribed on the representative list, the urgent safeguarding list, as well as the implementation of international assistance, and all the nominations and requests, the forms and appended documents. Allow me to go through the agenda. On Monday in the morning, we'll start with a short opening. And since there is an opening ceremony organized by the host country today, by the end of the first morning session, the committee is scheduled to finalize examinations up to item number 6, which is the voluntary supplementary contributions to the Intangible Cultural Heritage Fund. After the examination of item 4 and before the beginning of item 5, the chairperson will inform the committee of the outcomes of the Bureau meetings held since the election of the Bureau in 2015 by the committee at its 10th session. The NGO Forum will also make a short presentation on its deliberations. Sorry, I think, no. Can you go back, please, just one? That will be followed by the report of the Secretariat on its activities. I think there's a little bit of confusion in what I told you. So we will have the adoption of the summary records, the report on the Bureau meetings, followed by the report of non-governmental organizations, then the report of the Secretariat, and then the voluntary supplementary contributions to the fund. So, next slide. After lunch, we treat a couple of items, the follow-up to the recommendations of the External Auditor's Report, report on the governance of UNESCO dependent funds, programs, and entities, document 38C23, which has been requested by the chairperson of the General Conference of UNESCO. We then proceed to item number 8, clarification on the decision-making process concerning inscription selection or approval of nomination proposals and requests. This is an item that has been included on the agenda at the request of Spain. We then go to the reports of state parties, item 9 and 9A, which is the examination of the reports of state parties on the implementation of the convention and on the current status of elements inscribed on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity, for which we will examine 6 reports, and if I may add, it is 6 out of 37 which were due this year. So we received 6 out of the 37 reports expected this year. Next. Then on Tuesday morning, we will go to the examination of the reports of the state parties on the current status of elements inscribed on the list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding, for which we received 6 reports out of, I think, 9 or 11 we were due, so a much better turnout for that one. And then we look at the reports on the international assistance from the fund, 9 reports. Then we start with item 10, which is the report of the evaluation body on its work in 2016. So in the afternoon of Tuesday, we will start examining, the committee will start examining the nominations for inscription on the list of intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding. There are 6 nominations, including this year a special, or the first time we have a nomination to the urgent safeguarding list combined with an international assistant request. The examination in the morning of Wednesday, we should be starting on the examination of nominations on the inscription on the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity, for which we have 37 nominations to consider. And that will continue. Those 37 nominations will continue in the morning and the afternoon, and will bring us to the morning of Thursday, when we will, after examining the representative lists, nominations will move to 7 proposals that have been submitted for the Register of Best Safeguarding Practices. On Thursday afternoon, under item 11, the committee will elect 3 new members to the evaluation body, 1 for each of the electoral groups, 3, meaning Latin America and the Caribbean states, 4, Asia and the Pacific, as well as an accredited non-governmental organization for electoral group 5B from the Arab states. I can inform you that we received 3 candidates for the electoral groups 3 and 4, and 2 for the electoral group 5B. That same afternoon, the committee will also examine item 12, the number of files submitted for the 2017 cycle, and the number of files that can be treated in the 2018 and 2019 cycles, as well as item 13, reflection on the transfer of an element from one list to the other, and removal from an element on a list. Then on Friday morning, the committee will examine item 14, which is the report on the preliminary expert meeting on developing an overall results framework for the convention, which took place in China last September, and item 515 on intangible cultural heritage in emergencies. Then on Friday afternoon, the committee will decide on the place and venue of its 12th session under item 18. Concerning this item, I can inform you that the Secretariat received an invitation of the Republic of Korea to host the 12th session, and to this date, this is the only state that has expressed interest to do so. The committee will also elect the Bureau for the 12th session. Before the closing of the session, the committee will examine any other business that may be inscribed under 18 during the session, and then adopt its report in the form of the list of decisions under item 19. And again, here we have the web page where all of the documents may be found. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Curtis. Are there any questions on the working methods and timetable? Do we have any questions? Okay, I recognize there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for hosting this meeting, and thank you for all the facilities you are providing. You're not listening. Is it okay now?
I can hear the interpreter, but not the floor. Sorry, please. Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
Is it okay
please.
now? Thank you for hosting this meeting, and thank you for all the facilities you are providing. And thank you for the Secretariat for this information meeting. I have only one question. There is a new book about the basic text. It's a new version, 2016. We were not able to have it when we were in Paris. It was still under impression. Is it possible to have it here? Do you have?
Mr. Tim, please.
Thank you.
Yes, this is the new version of the basic text. It incorporates the latest decisions of the latest committee last year, as well as the General Assembly. We have a room in the back. You may contact the Secretariat, and we can give you a hard copy. It's also online, but we do have hard copies in English, French, and some in Spanish, as well as Arabic as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Curtis. Do we have any more questions? Okay, Mr. Curtis, you have the floor.
I forgot to mention something during the presentation. I'd like to mention, of course, interpretation is provided in English and in French as per normal procedure. Thanks to the generous contribution of Spain and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we will also be able to provide interpretation in Spanish and Arabic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, over there.
Merci beaucoup pour la présentation. C'est la délégation permanente du Sénégal auprès de l'UNESCO. La question que je voudrais poser, c'est celle-ci. Ça concerne le point 8 sur le processus de prise de décision. Est-ce qu'on peut savoir ce qu'il est attendu du comité par rapport à ce point? Est-ce qu'il s'agit d'adopter un nouveau processus de décision ou est-ce qu'il s'agit simplement d'éclairer un processus de prise de décision qui est déjà mis en œuvre dans la pratique? Je vous remercie.
I don't think we can get into the substance of the issue in this session, but the title is a clarification of decision-making process. I think your question is not really yet a question for this information session, but as per the title, it is a clarification on the practices of the chairperson. Thank you.
If I may add a few points, it's an item we will be discussing tomorrow morning, so probably you will be more clear when the agenda item we will discuss tomorrow as an information session probably for today, but we will be coming back to it tomorrow morning. Thank you. Do you have any more questions? I see none. Well, of course, as you know, the Bureau will meet every morning to adjust the timetable, which have been presented by Mr. Curtis with the progress of our work. That's why we call it provisional. but we will need to try to stick to it as much as possible, as we have very important work to accomplish during merely 5 days we have. With this remark, I will try now to give you some practical informations about the hosting of this 11th session of the committee in Addis Ababa. I believe while on picking up your badge, you have managed to get some booklet which gives you some practical informations, inclusive of the provisional timetable of our sessions, and any informations you might be seeking in the coming 5 days. But a few informations I will try to highlight on. One is on logistics. For all delegates, whichever designated hotels you are staying, we will have shuttles arranged, which they will try their level best to facilitate, so that your timing for the plenaries is well up on the schedules. All respective committee members, you have designated cards, so you may consult on the information desk to respectively arrange your cards. The other information I would like to give is, tonight after this information session, we will have an opening ceremony. So at the opening ceremony, 5 p.m., you are all invited. Invitation cards you don't need. Your badges are enough to enter. It's at the Millennium Hall. There will be shuttles at the gate 2 where we have picked our badges. So you are all expected to be by 5 or earlier to be at gate 2, so that the shuttles will give you all the service towards the premises where the opening ceremony will be. And at the end of our sessions on Friday, we will have closing ceremony at the Hilton Addis Ababa, and in the coming days we will be giving you this practical informations. I just want to highlight for your schedule, and during our plenaries there will be city tour arrangements, so if you wish and if you can schedule yourself for the package they will have, there will be a booth for city tour, so you can consult them, you can schedule them, and they will give you the service to tour around Addis Ababa. Well, finally, as it has been already communicated, and I've tried to underline to you, the opening ceremony is being organized this afternoon, right after this session. Regarding the program of the opening ceremony, well, important guests will be with the delegates. And it's arranged in a way we will be having a specialized program to, by and large, showcase how ICH is perceived in Ethiopia. Different cultures of Ethiopia will be in a very organized way. There will be a show where we will see the spirits of this convention in action. The other thing we will have, it will be attended by His Excellency, our President, Federal Ethiopian President. And it's my sincere hope we will have a very good time to forget the jet lags we have had from wherever we came, and to think and focus towards the values we have on ICH. And finally, we all will have dinner there and then back to our hotels. Don't you worry, all the shuttles and people will be doing their level best so that everything is up to your demands and convenience to take you back to your respective hotels. Just get prepared, and we all will have a good time tonight, and it will give you a very good glimpse of Ethiopia. With regards to a few informations to give on lunch arrangements, to create best convenience, all committee members will be hosted here, second floor at the delegates lounge, all the coming week, their lunch, and other delegates, aside from the committee members, you will have a lot of options to take up your lunch, be it in the premises of this compound or around this ECA conference facility. It's all surrounded by hotels of different standards, so upon your choices, you can take your choice to lunch. There will be people who will be assisting you if you want any assistance with regards to directions and any facilitation you may be requiring. But feel comfortable and free to navigate whichever hotel, whatever service you wish to have. I think generally these informations could be good enough for this at this point in time. And I now complete my presentation, and together with the Secretary of the Convention, we are ready to answer any questions you may have in the maybe at this stage or later on in the coming days. Do we have any questions? Probably on tonight's arrangements. Any questions? Because on the logistics, we have colleagues who are here joining us. They will be receiving your questions and accordingly adjusting their arrangement to your needs. Any sort of probably demands you have, you may put forward. Okay. I see there's no more questions. Before I close the session, let me underline that my team, the Secretariat, and I stand ready to provide any further clarifications you may require and to answer any questions you may have. And in general, we remain at your entire disposal throughout the committee session for any further assistance you may need. The orientation session is now closed. I thank you for coming and invite you to join the opening ceremony once again, taking place this afternoon, 5 p.m., starting 5 p.m. at the Millennium Multipurpose Hall. Buses will be waiting us outside Gate 2 to take us to Millennium Hall. Thank you very much. Have a great evening and have a great week in Addis. Thank you.
Taste. Taste 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Tasting. Tasting 1, 2, 3. Tasting. Can you hear me? Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste. Taste. Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste. Taste 1, 2, 3. Tasting 1, 2, 3. Tasting 1, 2, 3. Taste. Taste. Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste. 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 Can you hear me? Taste. 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 Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste. Taste. Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste. Taste 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Andule sust. 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 Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste. Taste. Taste andule sust. Andule sust. Andule sust. Andule sust. Andule sust. Tasting 1, 2, 3. Taste 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste 1, 2, 3. Tasting 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Taste 1, 2, 3. Taste. Taste. Taste 1, 2, 3. PowerPoint-ul መጠቆሚያ ጠይቀው የፓወርፖይንቱን እሱ አልሰጠኝም አልወሰድኩም
ይሰማል? ይሰማል። እሺ ሞክር። ሉላውራ ሉሉ ይሰማል? ቆይ ሉሉ ይሰማል? ኮንትሮል ሩም ገብተህ የሞባይል አለ የአንድ ሰው ሞባይል ይዞና እዚህ እኔ ጋር ያለውበት አዎ አዎ
Hello. Okay, you hear? But try listening in one of the speakers. And especially up there. Hello, is it coming through the speaker? Is it coming through the speaker? You can hear in the headphone?
Check. 1, 2, 3. Check. Check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Check 1, 2, 3. You don't listen. አንድ ሁለት ሶስት ሙከራ ቴስቲንግ ጥሩ ነው ይሰማል ይሄው ጥሩ ነው እንዴት ሌላው የሌክተርን አሁን ሌክተርን ኦን ብታደርግ እና ሌክተርን ጋር ሄጄ ላውራ ሚክሰሩን ይሄ እንዴት ነው ቴስት 1 2 እሺ አንድ ሁለት ሶስት ቴስት አንድ ሁለት ሶስት ሙከራ 2 3 3 2 1 okay button test 1 2 1 2 3 እሷ የሆነች ሌቨል ላይ በቀደም ለትም ታስታውሳለህ አንድ ቴስቲንግ 1 2 ቴስቲንግ 1 2 3 3 2 1 ቴስት አንድ ሁለት ሶስት ሙከራ አንድ ሁለት ሶስት እሺ ኦኬ ጥሩ እሺ
Testing 1 2 3 testing 1 2 3 1 2 3 test 1 2 3 test 1 2 3 test 1 2 3 3 testing 1 2 3 ናዊት እሺ ቀስ እያልኩ ነው እሺ እሺ ቴስቲንግ ቴስቲንግ 1 2 3 ቴስት 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 1 2 3 Test 1 3 test 1 3 Hi. test 1 3 testing 1 3 testing test 1 3 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 test testing test 1 3 test Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test. Test 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test. Test 1, 2, 3. Test. Test. Test 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. Test. Test. Testing 1, 2, 3. Test. Test 1, 2, 3. I become.
Algeria,
Testing 1, 3. Test. Test 1, 3. Test. Test 1, 3. Test. Test 1, 3. Hello.
1, 2, 3, check.
Test, Monsieur. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Testing. 1, 2.
Here? Yeah? I was about to sing the independence song. I cannot do that.